My immediate feelings that I'm scared as hell because it all points to civil war taking place in this country. I'm not advocating that somebody get away with crimes. It's not what I'm saying here. I'm not here to take sides. This ain't about politics to me. This is about the American people because I think that on far too many occasions we're all pawns. We're all subject to the mercy of politicians who find a way to manipulate the system and ultimately manipulate us into going up against one another, butting heads against one another, and being uncivilized towards one another. That's a concern that I had before.
Welcome back, Warriors. It's me, Linda B. Thank you all so much for joining me here today. So, we all know about the verdict in the hush money trial that Donald Trump was found guilty on all charges. Well, today I wanted to give Stephen A's take on what happened. Now, let's get into it.
That it was rigged. The judge, they're accusing the judge of being rigged. They're accusing the jury of being rigged. Everything that you could possibly think of, they're calling this, just a flagrant injustice everywhere you turn. Those are their feelings. Here's my immediate feelings. I'm scared as hell. My immediate feelings that I'm scared as hell because it all points to civil war taking place in this country. I'm not advocating that somebody get away with crimes. It's not what I'm saying here. I'm not here to take sides. This ain't about politics to me. This is about the American people because I think that on far too many occasions we're all pawns. We're all subject to the mercy of politicians who find a way to manipulate the system and ultimately manipulate us into going up against one another, butting heads against one another, and being uncivilized towards one another. That's a concern that I had before. I had it before January 6th when the U.S. Capitol was stormed by a bunch of Trump supporters. I've had it ever since. I have it now because Trump's not going to go away quietly.
True, Trump is not going to go away quietly, but that little comment he made about what happened at the Capitol, those of you who follow, who are conservative and you don't believe the fake news, they made it look one way, but it was another way. That's all I'm saying.
He's not going to go away. His sentencing is scheduled for July 11th. Before then, he has obviously an opportunity to appeal the decision. And for those who are thinking that this is going to amount to nothing, it's entirely plausible because you're already having pundits out there saying this may not equate to any jail time. By the way, he's allowed to still run for the presidency. Let's be very, very clear about that. You got to be a United States citizen. You got to be born in the United States of America. You got to be at least 35 years of age. You got to be, in the country at least 14 years, last 14 years. So they say that as a criteria to be in the president of the United States. He meets that criteria, which means that even though he's now a convicted felon, he can still run for office. He's still the presumptive GOP nominee. You still saw President Biden's administration giving out statements about how to go, encouraging folks to go to the ballot box to make sure that you're not going to vote for him. Well, guess what? That means because he can still run it, you can still vote for him. This is, no matter what way you slice it, no matter what side you're on, this ain't a great day for America because it's damn near scary when you consider how folks are going to react on both sides of the aisle over this ruling. But rather than me get into it from that perspective at this particular moment in time, I'll delay some of my more specific reactions until later on. For the moment, I want to bring in a legal expert. Obviously, he's a lawyer, a renowned lawyer. So let's get that out the way. Got his own law firm, partner in his own law firm.
Facts are not in dispute. But what Trump has done regrettably is twisted that, and you hear the allegations of rigged. You hear the talk about how corrupt this judge is. It is unthinkable that any defendant would characterize his own judge as being corrupt. So what has happened regrettably is it has simply caused each side, as you have aptly noted, to move into their own corners. But I do not think the prospects are as dire as you fear, because this is only a paper case about paying a porn star. There are 3 other prosecutions that are pending that are far more speaking to the concerns that you expressed, because it goes to the heart of the former president's attempts to overturn the election, to attack our democracy. And I understand any concerns about those cases, but not this one, I don't think.
Well, I guess what I'm saying, Carl, is this. Work with me here, okay? We've got 11 falsified invoices, 12 falsified ledger entries, and 11 checks falsely recording the repayment as legal, quote, retainers, end quote. So anybody that sees that amount of charges leveled against somebody, the presumption of guilt is definitely going to come attached to it. When we look at the 12 jurors, you know what? They did their jobs according to most folks, okay? We're not going to dispute that. We're certainly not going to sit here and call a former president innocent, not when he's been convicted on all 34 felony counts, for crying out loud. Nobody's that silly. But work with me here. He's scheduled to be sentenced on the morning of July 11th at Manhattan Supreme Court, all right? That's 4 days before the Republican National Convention. Oh, by the way, the chances are they're saying that he may not even see any jail time. So I guess from a legal perspective, explain to me how somebody that's been convicted on 34 felony counts ain't going to get to see any jail time, because that's what I saw Dan Abrams from News Nation and various others speculating as to what may be a possibility of happening. How is that possible?
Stephen A., add Carl E. Douglas to that list of advisors who tells you he doubts that the former president will ever serve any jail time for this case. The facts are the facts. In 90% of Class E felonies, the person who's convicted does not serve any time in jail. The former president, despite what you may think about him, has no prior record. This is a relatively minor crime because it's only a Class E felony. Class A is a murder. Right. And then when you understand that 90% of people who were convicted never serve time in jail, there's a maximum, of course, of 4 years, but it is not. And Stephen, I would dare to say, were the former president sentenced to any significant time in jail, your concerns could then be greater realized. And I'm sure Judge Mershon echoes and understands that concern. Despite everything that the former president did during the trial and before the trial, despite 10 different findings of contempt, the judge never chose the option of having the former president put into jail, knowing the impact that it could have on the entire nation. I believe Judge Mershon will take that wisdom and exercise discretion in some other ways. But Stephen A., no matter if that happened, I predict his lawyers are going to seek to delay the sentencing for a couple of weeks, for 30 days or so, to make sure it is after the convention. And I predict his lawyers are going to file a notice to appeal. So there's not going to be any imposition of any sentence for months, probably not until years from today.
You know, I about can't stand any more of these people talking, but I just want, and this man right here, he's a legal expert, but I'm not going to be mean, but I'm going to keep my comments to myself. That's bad Christian. So anyway, that whole Judge Mershon thing is, I've already done an interview on him. He clearly exposed himself to be corrupt and not above board, telling the jury what he told the jury, that you don't have to be unanimous on anything of these other charges. You don't have to be unanimous. And they came back quick because, they were given those instructions. I was like, they changing laws in the middle of it. Things are just being made up as they go along. Laws are being hurried up and changed to get Donald Trump. And, he said the maximum, this legal expert here, Mr. Douglas, said that the maximum is 4 years. They want the max. I don't know what Donald Trump is actually going to get. The sentencing is July 11th. So that means that the Republican National Convention is July 15th is the National Convention. So yeah, I'm just trying to think, because I'm thinking that they'll probably want the max. Gosh, I just get this feeling that they're going to try to do something and try to say that something else happened. And I don't want to even say what I think that they're going to try to do to the former president. I think you can read what I'm trying to lead into. That's why prayer warriors pray. We got to take this thing to the Lord, because they are after not just Donald Trump. He's just standing in the way. They're after us to take away our freedoms. See my Tulsi Gabbard video? And they're trying to take away our freedoms so that we are another type of country that we don't even recognize. We are a constitutional republic. We're supposed to be able to freely vote on who we want, but they're trying to take it away. That is insane. And for those people who don't like Donald Trump, you don't like him, you want Donald Trump to be in prison. Of course, I don't want him to be in prison at all. You want him to go away. I don't want him to go away because you know what? You shouldn't either, even if you don't like Donald Trump. You know why? Because it could happen to someone on the Democrat side. What if somebody on the Republican side do to the Democrats what the Democrats are doing to Donald Trump? Then you'll be all in a tizzy saying, this is unfair, like we are. It's not right. You don't do this to your political opponent, to the one who you know gonna beat your behind in the next election. And you know what I think about 2020. You already know if you watch my channel. And I get a little spicy. I know I get heated and I get emotional. I can't help myself. It's just my personality, but nobody should be happy about this, no matter whose side you on, because it could also be turned the other way. Don't ever forget that. So while you skinning and grinning, as we say in the South, in Georgia, skinning and grinning, because if you don't like Donald Trump, you happy. What if it happens to a political candidate that you like, that's for the party that you like? You think about that. Think about that. So don't be skinning and grinning. Don't skin and grin, honey, because whatever's done in secret comes to the light. And we're praying for what's right to be done. This is clearly corrupt. All the cases, everything, it is clearly corrupt. You only want, if people are out there saying that Donald Trump did all this bad stuff, this stuff is made up because they know they can't beat him. Beat them fair and square then. Stephen A said it in other videos. Beat them fair and square. Beat them. But you can't do it, can you? Not fair and square. You can't do it, can you?
And for those that want to sit up there and say, Stephen, you tripping, I keep reminding y'all, you know, in the 2020 election, Joe Biden won that election, the popular vote. He had 81,283,501 popular votes. The Electoral College votes he had was 306. Donald Trump had 232 electoral votes. He had 74,223,975. With all the stuff that was going on in his previous administration, nearly 75 million people showed up to vote for him. That was before they were pointing the finger at President Joe Biden's cognitive abilities. It was before he had a record as the president that some people on the right will complain about. People on the left ain't complaining about it. They're looking at our economy. They're looking at some of the decisions that he's made. They're looking at some of, the courts. They're looking at a bevy of things, and they're saying, hey, we ain't got no problem with Joe Biden, but the right clearly does. They want their guy in office. So we've got an election coming up in a matter of months, this November. And they keep airing and playing bumbles and stumbles by Joe Biden while looking at Donald Trump roll up in the libertarian place, in the places rife with libertarians that are booing the hell out of him, and he doesn't care. And showing up to rallies in New York where there's thousands, or showing up to rallies in other places where it's flummoxed with people. Yo, he's a threat. I was on Bill Maher's Real Time with Bill Maher with Adam Schiff, Representative Adam Schiff, who's running for the Senate in California. And he was like, make no mistake about it, I know that Donald Trump is a threat. So I'm looking at all of these different things, and I'm saying to myself, excuse me, you went after this guy, and essentially it's a case that basically came down to this accusation. The prosecution argued the records were falsified as part of a scheme Trump devised with his lawyer, Michael Cohen, to conceal a payment to silence adult film star Stormy Daniels about an alleged affair ahead of the 2016 election. He basically wanted to keep everybody from knowing he paid $130,000 in hush money to a porn star. Please understand, his supporters ain't going anywhere. And their attitude is going to be, these sorry ass politicians have done much worse on both sides of the aisle than our guy. That's what they're going to say. Because we see them on the TV saying it. Now, I ain't one of them. See, to me, it ain't about Trump being in jail. It ain't about him being a convicted felon. I don't want him to be the president of the United States, period. Because I think he's divisive. And I think that he will serve to divide America. And what did he do yesterday?
Hush, Stephen A. Hush. You know you're going to vote for him. You just got to say what you got to say to keep your paycheck. Yeah, that's you. You got to say what you got to say. You've complained a lot about what's going on with the border and how it's hurting people. How are you going to sit up there and still vote for Joe Biden and he's destroying the country? How the heck you fix your mouth to say that? Can you go to bed at night? Can you look at yourself in the mirror, Stephen A? You ridiculous. You silly. You silly. You're going to sit up there and say that after you have complained about all the money, $53 million being given to illegal, I put emphasis on the word illegal. Those of us on the right, we support legal immigration. We are not for illegal, unvetted immigration. These people are coming over here. We don't know where the heck they come from, bringing all kind of problems over the border. We got enough problems, homegrown problems of our own. Don't add to it. You're going to sit up there and say that. You know, you say that because you got to keep your check rolling. You know, your bosses want you to say what you got to say. So you're not going to support Donald Trump because I understand you would lose everything. I get it. I get it. But Donald Trump is not divisive. What's divisive is the media painting him a certain way. What's divisive is the evil powers that be that's causing all these problems. Let the blame lie squarely where it should lie and stop pointing the finger. Because those on the left love to point the finger. All the racism and all the pointing fingers on the left, all the projection, all the evil laws that they pass. Ridiculous.
Today. What did he do? I'm sorry, today. Immediately after the verdict came down, it was rigged. It's a sham. It's a miscarriage of justice.
It is.
We know what they're doing. They're trying to rig the election. They don't want me running against them. I'm the presumptive GOP nominee. They can't beat me. They're trying to steal the election from you, America. What do you think those supporters are going to do? Do you really think they're going to lay down quietly? That's my fear. I appreciate what Carl Douglas said. I appreciate him trying to assuage my concerns. I appreciate him trying to alleviate it to some degree. I understand. But when you're in these streets and you see people, it could be an apartment complex. It could be a delicatessen. It could be a supermarket. It could be a damn nightclub. It could be a bar. It could be anything where all of a sudden inexplicable mayhem takes place. How can you not be fearful? How can you not be on high alert? How can you not be concerned? That's where I'm coming from. I don't want to hear a damn person coming at me talking, thinking I'm talking politics. I'm not talking politics. I'm not talking. Vote for who you want to. I'm going to vote for who I want to. Do what you got to do. You know where I stand against Donald Trump. I said the man was divisive. The man is a problem. He's not about galvanizing and bringing people together who don't support him. Only those who do.
Stephen A., you wrong. You don't know what you're talking about. He's not divisive. He's not the problem. He's trying to give us our freedoms. If you listen to Donald Trump's messages, he wants us to have parental rights over our children, put prayer back in schools. He wants to secure the border so these illegal immigrants can go back to where they came from and come through the right way. And if you got problems and issues, you're trying to bring it to America, you can't come. And that's beneficial to all Americans because they're sending those illegals to the hoods, to Black neighborhoods. That's where they're sending them. And in these town hall meetings, you see all these people fussing and crying in Chicago and New York about how the illegal immigrants are soaking up all the resources, putting American-born citizens in the back of the line while the immigrants are in the front of the line. Heck, they don't even need a line. They get the resources sent right to them because they're trying to replace voters. They're trying to get more Democrat voters. That's what they're trying to do. That's what's happening. That's what's divisive. And that is what's going down. Stephen A., you are not telling the truth right now. I know you got to say what you got to say, brother. I know you got to say what you have to say to keep your paycheck rolling, but I can't stand anything else or what you have to say. You know, I mean, because you're not speaking facts. Stephen A. is not speaking facts, you all. He's not. You know, the left, they clearly never do, but I still believe, and I've said it in another video, Stephen A., on the DL is probably going to vote for Trump. That's why he keeps pounding, because he wants people to think that he's not going to vote for Trump. I said again, I don't want him to be president. I think he's divisive. I think, yeah, you're going to vote for him because you already done complained enough about Joe Biden. You're going to vote for Joe Biden so you can get more of the same? Why? Why would you vote against yourself in your own country? We live in America, and America's been, all these illegals are taking over. Why would anybody vote for Joe Biden in their right mind? Why? Why would you vote Democrat in your right mind? Now, some of people out there brainwashed. I get it. I get it. I used to be one of them. I did not vote for Trump, but I will be this time. You all tell me your comments, what you think. Like, comment, share, subscribe, hit the notification bell. Make sure the notifications work. On my way to 30,000 subscribers today. Don't know how that's going to happen. It's going to take a miracle. You all be blessed. Love God. Love your families. Love your country, the United States of America. And as I always say, march on, warriors.